All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the City of Findlay City Planning Commission meeting at August 10th, 2023. Jacob, if you'd like to ready roll call whenever you're ready.
Yep. Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Jarmut.
Here.
Ms. Schroeder.
Here.
And Mr. Klinger.
Here.
And Mayor Mern is off handling some family matters, so please keep her and her family in your thoughts and prayers, but she will be back 100% here very soon. So unfortunately, you get to deal with me today running the meeting. So I'll do the best I can. Jacob, when you're ready, anyone that is going to speak for or against any of the agenda items would please stand to be sworn in.
Do you affirm that all the testimony you're about to give before this commission this day is the truth, the whole truth, and conform to the facts in conformance with the commission? This you do under the pains and penalties of perjury? Please say I do.
Jacob forgot his
We can
he had to wing it today. I apologize.
Pretty close. Good job. All right.
Way to wing it.
All right. So approval of minutes of July 13th meeting. Any questions or comments?
Jacob, I have one thing on page 12. There's about the fourth paragraph from the bottom. There, it looks like there's a sentence missing, and I don't know if it didn't translate over from the voice recording or something, but just look at that. Other than that, I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on to new items. Item number 1, application for conditional use CU-14-2023 filed by Slough Housing LLC to establish a duplex at 608 West Sandusky Street. CPC staff comments.
And I'll just start by saying that the applicant is out of town and was unable to attend, but they did say if we needed to ask questions that they could phone in and answer any. So.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, so CPC staff. This request is located on the north side of West Sandusky Street near the intersection with Western Avenue. Is Zone C or R3 single family small lot. It is in a neighborhood that's primarily R3 small lot residential. It is not located within the 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay land use plan designates the area as single family small lot. Parcel history, the auditor site lists this property as a single family home with a conversion for the duplex. The applicant is applying for a permit for the duplex. During the zoning update in 2019, the owner was notified that the property was an illegal duplex and that they did not comply with the parking on site. Upon further investigation, there appears to be sufficient parking in the rear to accommodate 4 parking spots. The surrounding neighborhood is a residential neighborhood near downtown with a mix of single-family duplexes and commercial spaces. Given the mix and the fact that they can supply the required parking, staff was supportive of the request. So. Staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-14-2023 filed by SLOF Housing LLC to establish a duplex at 608 West Sandusky Street.
Engineering?
No comment.
Fire prevention had no comment. The recommendation is CPC. Staff recommends approval of the application for conditional use CU-14-2023. Just what Jacob said without being redundant. All right, so.
Just a few comments. This has operated as a duplex for several tens of years at least. During the map update, I view this as one that slipped through the cracks. We had it as illegal, but they do have the 4 off-street parking spaces. So if we would have caught it normally, it would have been given the conditional use in 2020. But it's changed hands. It's changing hands into this person. Normally, I would, if Normally, in this case, we require them to pave the parking, but since that parking has been there for several years now, I don't think that we have the right to make them pave the parking because it's already there. So I just wanted to explain that I think this is one of the few oversights in the major map update of 2019.
And
this would have been given the conditional use.
You're referring to the, up where that white vehicle is on the top of the red square? Okay,
Correct. And the red square,
thanks.
sometimes
Rectangle, it's not a
the
square.
rectangle, yeah. The county GIS is accurate, but not always perfectly accurate. So the true property line is if you shift this rectangle over into this area.
Anyone here, I know the applicant is not here, anyone other than them want to speak for or against this in the audience?
I
Okay.
guess my only question, so the parking is like, it's too wide, too deep, that's okay?
Yep,
Okay, no problem, as long as it's,
yeah.
the only other issue I had is that garage is ready to fall over on 2 of those parking spaces. Did you see that garage? It's got the leans bad. I don't know. Eric, can we, how do you request people to demo a garage? It's unsafe, I don't know.
We'll make a note of it and send our officer out to
Okay.
investigate the garage,
All right.
just because it was brought up.
So we're not including that garage as the parking then, so,
No,
because I doubt it's usable.
no, the four,
All right.
and as the code doesn't require every spot to have immediate access. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll move to approve.
Jake, could you just put a note, maybe that the board recommends considering demolition of the garage?
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the board, but if you guys agree with
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
We're
right.
not requiring it, but
Yeah.
recommending.
Okay.
Oh,
Do we need a second?
I'll second.
okay. Discussions. Matt, this is one that I guess I was thinking that maybe we ought to require them to pave that parking. It's really mostly stone. And if it was a new request, a new duplex, we would require that. So why would we not put that stipulation on this?
Well, I mean, I think we gave hundreds of duplexes similar to this the conditional use in 2020. But for an error on my part, this would have also. So I think that's why we don't require them, because it was essentially, I would say it was an error on my part with the map update, in that it met the criteria, it had enough parking, it had already been established. We would have given it the conditional use, but for an error on my part.
Okay, so the other ones that we did give conditional use to, if they had stone parking or something, it was not an issue with them either.
Correct.
Okay.
Because for many years, stone parking was perfectly acceptable in the zoning code. So essentially they were grandfathered. And this one potentially could be too. I don't have the history of the whole parking lot, but it's probably been there for 10 to 20 years.
Okay.
Now, if they only had 2 parking spots and they had to add 2 more, we would have required that to pave the parking.
Right.
Okay, anything else? The motion and a second. Jacob?
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Jermet,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
and Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 2, application for site plan review, SP 18-2023, filed by Lighthouse Community Church to construct a new church on part of Lot 1 of Findlay Commerce Park, located on County Road 99 in Findlay. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located along County Road 99 in the northwest corner of the Findlay Commerce Park. It is zoned C2 General Commercial. To the east, it is zoned C2. I believe that was rezoned to M2 multifamily. Land to the west is located outside the corporate boundary in Allen Township. The land directly to the west is currently vacant farm ground and abuts the Woods Hillcrest subdivision. It's not located within the 100-year floodplain, and City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the area as office. Parcel history, this is currently vacant ground. In 2001, we reviewed a site plan for the church, which had a similar layout. So staff analysis, Lighthouse Church is, are proposing to construct an 18,010 square foot building, which would accommodate a 369 seat sanctuary church. The access to the site would come in off of County Road 99. The height of the building would be 26 feet 5.5 inches at the peak. Lighting would only shine on the property. There would be 2 parking lots, one on the north side of the church and one on the south side. There would be 183 parking spots provided, which is more than the required 159. The site would have a detention pond constructed at the southwest corner of the site to address drainage, and along the south boundary there's been mounding to help screen the site from the condominium association. The staff recommendation, CPC staff recommends approval of application for site plan review SP-18-2023 filed by Lighthouse Community Church to construct a new church on part of Lot 1 of the Findlay Commerce Park located on County Road 99 in Findlay.
Engineering?
So not to repeat everything Jacob has already said, for the site access, that is still, access is maintained by the county, but I believe you guys already had a driveway permit for this property. But if not, that will have to go through the county for driveway access, but I'm good where you're shown on the site. Water service, they're proposing to come off the 24-inch line that's on the south side of County Road 99. We do have a 12-inch that is over to the east. I'll work with a consultant on ultimately decide where we want to go, what would be easiest for them. But we do have 2 good options for them to go within that site. Sanitary is a pretty easy hookup. We have a manhole right there. They're going to have a drop manhole within their property before they make that connection, so we don't have to do the outside drop on the public line. And then the stormwater management, they had a SWIP plan that went with the proposed plans, which everything's good on that. And then the detention calculations that they had for that also covered some future expansion projects with that. So they should be covered on their next projects as well, but otherwise I recommend approval.
Fire prevention had no comments. So the recommendation, staff recommends approval of application for site plan review SP 18-2023 filed by Lighthouse Community Church to construct a new church on part of Lot 1 of the Findlay Commerce Park located on County Road 99 in Findlay. Dan, would you like to add comment?
We've already obtained the driveway permit on County Road 99 from the county engineer. We'll work with Jeremy on water, and basically this is the same site that you saw back in 21. Building shrunk a little bit, but other than that, nothing else has changed.
Dan, on your site grading plan, I don't see the mound on that, but on the landscape plan, it does show a mounding on the south side. What height of mounding are you thinking of at this point?
Typically, we don't like to go too crazy. It might get 4 or 5 feet tall with maybe some evergreens or something like that.
Yeah, I'd like
provide a buffer.
to see some landscape screening on that site also, which I think is required as I see it in the code anyhow. So
Yeah, I don't have I didn't print out the landscape, but we can definitely take a look at the landscape
Yeah.
and make sure that complies with code.
I think the code, and Matt, you can look at this too and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it requires level 2 screening on between the C property and the M property.
I believe you're right. We will confirm that.
Yeah.
We'll work with administration
And-
on that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and then maybe the mounting wouldn't need to be quite so high if you got good landscaping along that side too.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see something at least probably 3 to 4 feet.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of topsoil generated from this. The intent is to distribute some of the topsoil over along the east side of the property where they're going to set this up, more of a level area for ball fields, play areas, and then some of the topsoil will be, again, put in down here There is so drainage we've already considered when we did the apartments, as well as up here. You can see there's a swale with the mound, and we'll make sure it's all taken care of properly and landscaped according to code.
Then does the detention pond release to that ditch that runs through that southern property, or what happens to that?
Basically, yeah, there's a, when this was master planned, this thing's not working. There was a pond down kind of southwest of here that took care of about 80% of the drainage area for all of this area, and even on the east side of Technology Drive.
Oh.
So there's a series of storm sewer systems. This will tie into a 24-inch storm sewer that will go down into that pond, which will then release into the ditch that goes through the subdivision.
Okay.
So the apartments, as well as this, they all have their own ponds that slowly release into the storm sewer system that go to the ditch. And again, the whole system was set up for this whole area.
Okay.
So there should not be any negative impact anywhere on any of the properties.
Oh, I had something for the city engineer too. What do you mean by drop manhole? What's a drop manhole?
So because how deep that sanitary is out on 99, when you tie into a sanitary, you can't have more than 2 foot of drop. And if you have a drop, it's called an outside drop. It's just the system we put on that, so that way you're not dropping 20 feet. The sewer's not dropping 20 feet in. It's a standard practice that we have to do once you get past that 2 foot.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anybody in the audience for or against this would like to speak other than Dan? Okay.
I'll move to approve.
I will second. Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Jarman?
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder?
Aye.
Mr. Klinger?
Aye.
And Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, application for conditional use CU 15-2023, filed by April and Joshua Siders for a dog sitting home business at 1227 Woodworth Avenue. CPC staff comments.
This request is located on the west side of Woodworth Avenue, north of that intersection with Glen Meadow Drive. That is zoned R1 large lot residential. It is in a neighborhood of R1 large lot residential, not located within the 100-year floodplain, and the Findlay land use plan designates the parcel as large lot residential. Parcel history: this site has been a single family home. The applicant, April and Joshua Siders, are the property owners, while their daughter runs the dog sitting business. They mentioned that their daughter has been running the business for several years, and that the city has only recently received a complaint about the dogs barking. So recently, zoning was notified that there was an accessory structure where they store crates for the dogs, and then zoning contacted the Siders to rectify the home business designation for the site. Staff is supportive of the application in general. One of the conditions that CPC might consider is limiting the number of dogs allowed at the home at a time. The city does have a barking or howling dog section in the nuisance code, in the municipal code. Conditional use permits, we would just remind the applicants that they are revocable in the future if issues arise. So staff recommends approval of application for conditional use CU-15-2023, filed by April and Joshua Siders for dog sitting home business at 1227 Woodworth Avenue.
Engineering?
No comment.
Firehead, no comment. So the recommendation was as Jacob stated. You're the applicant?
Yes.
Can you please step up to the mic, make sure it's on, and introduce yourself?
I'm April Siders,
There's a
and this
button
is my
there.
daughter.
There's a button there.
Red button.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now? I'm April Siders, and this is my daughter, Shara Siders. She actually runs the dog sitting business, but other properties in Martin.
Yep. But
She'll be answering the question.
all right. All right.
The red light was on when I.
No,
it's on.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, welcome, and tell us a little bit about what you have going on.
So I have a small dog sitting business I run from behind my home. I have a decent sized facility. It's 10 by 20, and I can keep up to 15 dogs. I've been doing this for 3 years now at this location. I started dog sitting when I was 9 years old. I am now 19, so I've been working with dogs for 10 years now. I started out doing in-home sitting, and then about 5 years ago I moved into boarding. So my dad actually fixed up this building for me so I could board dogs. So yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Do you have any personal pets?
Yes, I have 4 of my own.
4
well, my
dogs?
family has 4.
4 dogs?
Yes.
Okay. And how many?
Only 1 is outside. So we have 3 little ones inside and then 1 golden retriever outside. That is my personal dogs.
Okay, and you sitting for as many as 15 dogs?
Yes, I can keep up to 15. My average is between 6 and 10, but in the summer months I do cap at 15.
And where do these dogs stay when you're sitting?
They stay in the building that I have in my backyard.
So that the building there to the south side of the site there?
Yes. It's in the back.
I don't think
Is it the white one?
It's not
It's-
on the plot.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's
Oh.
not there yet.
The white one's a travel trailer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a...
Okay, I'm sorry. So the building's not on there. So can you tell me where on the property it is located? Oh, right there. Okay, I got
It's,
you.
yeah, in
Okay.
that back
All right.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this typically a Monday through Friday? Is this like I go out of town for a week and you take care of my dog for the week? Or is this just like a daycare? Help me understand, like, is this 24 hours a day? Do you have a fenced-in backyard where they run, or are they boarded the whole time? Just help me understand a little bit more.
Yeah, so I offer dog boarding. So those dogs stay at my house, and that is a 24/7 deal.
Okay.
We have a decent-sized fenced-in yard. So they come in, and some people leave them for a weekend. Some people, they stay for 2 weeks, a week, just like if they go on vacation or out of town. And those dogs get out 4 times a day for a decent amount of time, and they are in the backyard. I also do doggy daycare 3 days a week, and that is usually from like 7:30 in the morning to 5 p.m. those 3 days. And then I also do in-home sitting, and I go to people's houses 4 times a day.
Is this a full-time job for you or part-time or it's full-time?
Full-time,
Okay,
yep.
so, and you live at the residence?
I do, yes.
That seems like a lot of animals
It
there.
does seem like a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's a big business. I mean, that's,
So the dogs are in the building all day long, other than for 4 separate times that you would let them out to run for a while, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're not looking at putting a dog run in or anything since you've got the fenced-in yard?
No, I have a couple kennels that I use occasionally to give them some extra time outside, but other than that, they get free reign of the yard when they're out, so they get plenty of room to run and play.
What do you mean you got a couple kennels? What,
I have 2 10 by 10 kennels
Oh.
in the backyard.
And I just want to make the point that she's been doing this for over 3 years, and they've only received 1 barking complaint in 3 years. So
Oh, yeah.
it's not a frequent complaint. Just want to make sure we understand the whole picture.
so one of the neighbors complained, and how was that complaint handled? What did you do? So that you got a complaint, and then what did you do?
My mom and I reached out to all of the neighbors around us and made sure that they were okay, and if there was anything we could do to make the issue better, or if they had an issue, we tried to resolve it the best that we could.
None of them actually had.
Yeah, none of the
Well, they
ones we
reached out to-
contacted actually had an issue. They said that they didn't
Was
have
this
a
like
problem.
in the middle of the night or during the day? What was the complaint about?
I mean, it came to the city, it wasn't.
Eric, can you help us out here?
No, the complaint was just about general barking had increased that week.
Okay.
So, like Mr. Martin said, we haven't had a complaint in the 3.5 years that they've been doing this until now. So now we're here to.
So is this building they have, is it legal or
It will be,
it will be? Okay.
yeah.
What's the process there? Just-
And we had talked that based off this decision, that it's going to determine whether it stays there or not. I think it was fair that if they get denied, they can remove it or sell it or whatever and get rid of it. If it gets approval, we'll get it permitted. And then they'll just have to, because it came on site beforehand, they'll have to pay a triple fee for it to stay.
Yeah.
So,
So,
and it meets all setbacks as it is right now. And there's no coverage issues either. So it will be a compliant building.
so accessory structure building has a lot of latitude with your imagination. Does this building as is, if it was approved, fits the aesthetics of a typical structure in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
An accessory structure outside?
Yep.
Okay.
They just modified it a little bit with an air conditioner for the dogs. It's a little
Yeah,
bit different.
you take good care of the pups. Make sure they're air conditioned.
Well, they'll bark.
Well, yeah.
I also play
point.
music for them.
All right, doggy therapy too.
I want to check if there's anyone in the audience that has some comment as we.
Well, I'm still, hang just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not done
Right,
with
hang
it,
on.
but thank you.
Okay. So if we do this, it's a conditional use, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, conditional use. So who can revoke the conditional use? Does that come back to us, or does Eric have that, or who?
Revoking a conditional use would come back to planning commission.
Oh, it does, okay.
What's the size of this building?
It is
10 by
10 by
20.
20.
10 by 20, and so the 15 dogs are just in there loose?
No, they each have an individual crate that they stay
Okay.
in. I have,
I could just imagine that sometimes, depending on the dogs you're sitting for, some dogs maybe don't get along as well, and there could be a lot of barking. And I've experienced that where dogs would be out for hours barking constantly, and it's rather annoying when that happens.
they don't usually stay out for hours at a time. I usually, depending on the amount I have, it's anywhere from 15 to 30 or 40 minutes at a time. And if they're in cages beside each other and they don't like each other, I have dividers that I place between them so they can't see each other to eliminate the barking.
Well, it sounds like you've covered a lot of issues that might pop up in this sort of a business at your home anyhow, so.
Anything else for the applicant?
How many dogs are kenneled like overnight on average?
My average is 6 to 10.
How many was that?
But she,
I can't,
6 to 10.
oh, 6 to 10.
but then she said in the summertime, she's pegged out. So it's summertime, you're at 15
It's
or
like-
20.
Yeah, June through August is where I hit like 15, but I usually
15.
don't go over 15.
Okay. But that's when people are outside.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's,
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this? I can't. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody over here.
oh, there's one.
Sir, if you'd like to come down and introduce yourself, and the podium's yours. Good morning. Can you just introduce yourself so we have it on record, please?
Yes, my name is Mike Siders, and I'm Shara's grandfather.
Oh.
So I know that sounds like, well, here's putting in a plug for her, but
We
that's
weren't
what
thinking
grandfathers
that.
are
No.
supposed to do. I'm sure you know that dogs don't have anybody to speak for them. We don't have any in here today to say that this is a good place to stay, but I'm sure if they could, they would be in here and saying, we want to go to Prince and Paul's, because that's top-notch dog sitting here. I mean, I've watched her for years, and she really does an excellent job. Some people might say, well, why here? Why don't you let one of the other facilities do it? Some of the bigger facilities, maybe, instead of this little place in our neighborhood. Well, bigger facilities have got more overhead, and so they've got higher prices. And she's be able to keep her price down by having it at her home. Some people just can't afford these big dog sitting places, and this is an alternative. Dogs bark. You can't stop them. I can step out on not in this neighborhood. I live over off Brookside Drive, and I can step out at almost any time and hear dogs barking. right next door to me, behind me, wherever. It's almost everybody, probably 75 to 80% of the people have got dogs. And dogs bark. And the only way you're going to stop it, I guess, is to put a tourniquet around their neck. Because you can't get it done any other way. And there'd be times when there'd be more barking than other times, but most of the time, you wouldn't even know those dogs were there. Now, I've known this girl since birth, and she's now a young woman with a degree in business. And in a world full of incompetence, she's really a breath of fresh air. She handles herself and the dogs under her care very well. She loves the dogs, and it's easy to see that they love her. I can't even hardly get my dog to sit for a second to take his picture or whatever, but she can get 4 or 5 of them, and strangers to her, a lot of them, just all sit there while she takes her picture. She has some beautiful pictures online. She's just has a special touch with dogs and a special way with dogs. And the service she provides, I think, would be a great disservice to the community if it went away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay.
I guess I'm just blown away by the volume.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing I'm like, wow, 15 dogs seems like a lot, but I don't know.
What about in the off summer months? What would your volume be?
You mean like in the winter?
Yeah, in the fall and spring, you know, when people aren't on vacation so much.
The past few years, I haven't had more than usually like, what, 5 to 8? 8 at the most, probably in
Yeah.
the winter time. It slows down a lot.
But you can run 15, or you can house 15 with your current equipment and cages and everything else.
I'm good with it.
And
Well-
usually they're not all 15 out at one time.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a 24/7 15 dogs. It's usually just in the heavy vacation months.
Mm-hmm.
So you live there at this house also?
I do.
Yeah, and then, and so just the 2 of you then, or?
No,
There's-
my husband.
Oh,
and
okay,
my
there's
other
3 of you
daughter.
there. Okay.
Oh.
Any odor issues? I mean, it doesn't,
No, because my husband's pretty anal about all that stuff, so they keep everything picked up, and
Yeah.
she works pretty hard at making sure the
Yeah.
yard is clean.
Sounds like that would be pretty much a full-time job then, daily?
Yep.
Yep. I was in the neighborhood. My biggest concern would probably be the, maintenance of the, what dogs, how do you say that? The residual effects of dogs being in the yard without coming out and saying, what's it? Byproduct? Is that what you said? Okay. I'll be honest with you. I applaud your entrepreneurial spirit to make something happen like this. I wish more 19-year-olds were driven like this. It would help a lot of things. So 1 complaint in 3 years, and it's a conditional use. I don't see a reason to not give you the opportunity, knowing that we have dog ordinances for noise and that now people are aware. So you have to continue to maintain a clean business. So I see no reason not to give you the opportunity for the conditional use, knowing it can be revoked if we get complaints and things like that. So
what if she wants to double it in the next year?
I think I'd put a limit
At
on
what
it.
point does it get too big? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think okay, now I'm just talking out loud. And
Yeah,
I'd
no,
expect
yeah.
somebody over there to chime in. I think at a certain point it would turn into,
I feel like we're there, but I don't know. But
you'd transition from a residential to a commercial situation, right?
Yeah, kennels, in our zoning code, kennels are permitted only in the I-1 district.
so what is the definition of a kennel?
Uh,
How many dogs you got to have to be a
Right.
kennel? I mean,
It's the boarding of animals overnight.
there's no number though.
No.
Okay.
So I would say, do you have plans to expand?
I do not plan to get any bigger than I am right now
Okay.
at my home. If I ever do grow, it will be off-site.
So my
You make a
recommendation,
Motion with the cap.
Yeah.
motion with, because this facility has such a good track record and they've only had one complaint over a 3-year period, I would recommend potentially saying approve the conditional use with a cap of 15 dogs on site at one time. 15 dogs unrelated to your 4 dogs. And then, you could set it at 5 dogs, you could set it at 10 dogs, you could set it at 30 dogs, but I feel like, I think I'm somewhat in your guys' corner where that's a lot of dogs, but they've been operating it well and there's not been complaints.
Okay.
But I would put a cap of some sort on the
Agreed.
condition.
Yes.
All right.
I think if she's currently is doing 15 and has the equipment for 15, then I probably would look at maybe putting the cap at 15.
So recommendation is to approve this conditional use with the capacity not to exceed 15 dogs on site, customer dogs, however you'd say that,
Yeah.
on site at any given time.
The only other condition would be, what if she decides to move away and the business continues on at her parents' house and she's no longer a resident there? And, and then now the dogs are barking all that and she's nobody's there to address it, so it's almost like.
We
She
can
has-
revoke it.
For home occupation, she has to be a resident at that.
That's part of the
House, yeah.
definition? Oh, okay, all right,
Part of the home
Okay.
occupation
Yeah.
is the person doing it has to be there,
yeah, okay,
has to live there.
okay. Did you make a motion?
I did.
Oh, I'll second.
Anything else? Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Just so I got the condition right, not to exceed 15 customer dogs outside the personal.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
and Mr. Jammer.
Hi.
Good luck. Thank
For
you.
your time.
Have a good day.
If they get into cat boarding and all that.
All right, application number 4 for zoning amendment ZA06 2023 filed by Findlay City Schools to rezone 200 West Lincoln Street from R3 small lot residential to C3 downtown commercial. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located on the north side of West Lincoln Street between Southwest Street and South Quarry Street. It is zoned R3 small lot residential. To the east of South Quarry Street, it is zoned C3 downtown commercial. To the west of South Quarry Street, there's a bit of a mix of R3 small lot residential, R4 duplex and triplex, and M1 multifamily low density. It is not located within the 100-year floodplain, and City of Findlay Land Use Plan designated this parcel as downtown. Parcel history, the site is currently vacant after the closing of Lincoln Elementary School. Staff analysis, the applicant would like to rezone the site from R3 small lot residential to C3 downtown commercial. With the school's closure, there is much interest in what will happen next to the site, and the applicant has been in discussion with developers and they believe that the rezone would allow for a mixed-use development to occur on the property. When considering rezoning requests, the Findlay Land Use Plan is one of the key components to consider. Findlay Land Use Plan designated this site as downtown, which would better align the zoning with that plan. Given the unique character of the school, its location just west of Main Street, and the mix of uses in the area, staff was supportive of the rezone request. So staff recommends that Findlay City Planning Commission recommend approval of application for zoning amendment ZA-06-2023 filed by Findlay City Schools to rezone 200 West Lincoln Street from R3 small lot residential to C3 downtown commercial.
Engineering,
No comment.
fire had no comment. Would the applicant like to come up and introduce themselves or have any discussion around this? Well, we can swear you in now if you want. Can we, Jacob, can we go back and, they're standing there all official.
Yeah, do affirm to tell the truth and
The whole truth and
the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and conform to the facts and characteristics of this commission. Thanks.
Just the one time you said to do it twice.
See what happens when the mayor's not here? It all goes off kilter. She keeps us all in check. All right.
Good morning,
Would you
I'm-
please introduce yourself and give us a little bit of what's going on?
Good morning, I'm Dennis Doolittle. I'm Director of Operations for Findlay City Schools. We have 21 closed Lincoln School for use, combined those students into other schools, and started the process of looking for viable people who want to purchase the property with the help of the city of Findlay and the county. We've found a suitable candidate who would like to use this for multi-use, and we agree with the recommendation to change the zoning to allow that use. Pretty much that's where we're at.
I can
Chris?
add as well. My name's Chris Aldrich with the Findlay City Schools Board of Education. And this has been a long process that we've been really going through with trying to find the right fit for not only for the community, but for this area in the local neighborhood as well. And the key part of this is the facility and the structure will remain. So it's a good fit for Findlay.
I do, I do applaud the schools for working to keep the building intact. My worst nightmare when I heard it was closing is that the building would go up for auction. Someone would buy it for $50,000 and it would rot for the next 30 years, and then the city would have to tear it down. We've seen that situation play out with other schools, very old schools in our community and other communities. So the care and time that the schools have taken to find someone has really made me very happy. It's a very interesting architecturally, and it's kind of a little bit of a landmark. And so I'm very excited to see the future of the school move forward.
Thank you.
Question for you, Matt. Have you looked at C1, C2 versus C3? Is C3 the most viable zoning classification for the proposed reuse, or would one of the other classifications work?
I mean, the C3 offers the most flexibility, and in terms of, the C1 and C2 don't offer that flexibility, especially in terms of mixed use.
Okay.
C1 and C2 don't offer many opportunities for residential and office, or residential and small retail.
Yeah.
And then, we're in a dense situation, and the C3 is designed for higher density. We're right next to downtown, we're right in the neighborhood. So, I do believe that C3 is the best fit for this parcel.
Okay.
One thing to note, the school, there will be a residential component. They will have to get a conditional use as the next step. As their developer finalizes plans, he will have to come in to get a conditional use. So we will have
Conditional use for what?
residential as a conditional use in C3.
Oh, okay.
And so we will get another opportunity as plans are developed and finalized. City Planning Commission will have an opportunity. And if you recall, as you're well aware, conditional uses cede a lot of control to you and the conditions that you can put on the property.
Well, we would go through, if this gets approved, we'd go through another conditional use, then we'd go through site plan of review, and, I mean, there's phases of this, it'll
Yeah, I mean,
continue.
generally, conditional use and site plan generally
Blend.
go the same meeting.
Okay.
But we will see this project again
Yeah.
with full detail.
Two concerns I had is, so on the downtown commercial, there's 0 setbacks, right? 0 lot line.
Correct.
Right? So that seems like an issue. I mean, this is more of a neighborhood. I don't know if they're planning to put other structures in, but I'm not really in agreement with the 0, setback.
Sure.
I don't know. I would put a condition on that. I don't know what that would look like. Then also parking. I mean, so you don't have to have parking in a downtown, but this needs parking if we're going to have residential, right? So that would be another condition that needs to be put on it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, those, I understand your concerns about, my experience is 0 setbacks sounds scary, but they actually, I mean, our downtown couldn't exist without 0
no,
setbacks.
I get that, but this isn't exactly downtown.
It's not exactly, agreed.
Right. It's not exactly.
Agreed.
So I'm okay generally with the zoning, but these are the two concerns I had, I guess.
Sure.
Well,
We will,
I think
Yes, Rob.
the intent is they're going to maintain the existing parking lots for
well,
different.
I would caution I don't know that the developer, the developer isn't at 100% plan, so
Fair.
I would hate to speculate before we know.
Fair.
But I would say parking is a concern.
Matt,
Yeah,
can I jump in?
yep, sure.
Tim Spencer, excuse me, Trivium Development. I'm in contract to acquire the school. To Matt's comment on, and to the commission's comment on parking, we are pretty far along in due diligence, and given the age of the structure in the building, we are looking at water pressure, sewer capacity, stormwater, all those technical things that when we do bring an application back to the commission that we have to obviously address. One of the things that we're struggling with or trying to make sure is we have a contractual obligation to bring residential. That's one of the goals of the school board, is to introduce more residential into the community. And from a challenge standpoint, for example, to Matt's comment, if we add residential to the main structure, what we call the horseshoe building, we need to, with a mix of uses, we need to ensure access throughout the building. We're struggling to figure out how to get an elevator and ADA compliance on the building that's 115 years old. It's a challenge without cutting into that parking lot, which is cutting into potential parking. But then it also, one of the concepts we have is adding an elevator shaft to this east elevation towards the north end of the building. But we have to have a lobby on every floor. So then we're challenged with the number of residential units we have, because the units are already kind of baked in with the size of the classrooms. So we're working through that diligently. We have 2 architectural teams and then designers working on this, as well as technical folks on the engineering side. Parking, we understand that our current programming has co-working and office space, in which we would keep the majority, if not all, of the surface areas and repurpose them for parking. There is ample parking along Lincoln that's on street, and we've also want to entertain the idea of restaurant retail uses as well. So I don't know, we're happy to address or talk about parking, but I don't know if we'll be able to hit a matrix of, for example, 1 per 1,000, 2 per 1,000, 3, whatever, if there was a ratio. Our goal is to try to add, I think we're at like 60 or 70 parking spots on the surface area right now. In addition to that, we would like to convey one or both of the existing playground areas back to the community as a playground park. So I mention that because we're open to the idea of negotiating and having setback discussions, but if you put yourself in my shoes for a minute, if I, on one hand, offer a parking lot up as a playground, I don't want the setbacks to be then based off of that. I've
No, I understand.
detrimented
Yeah,
the site. So, I don't know the answer to that. I generally was in agreement that C3 was the right way to approach it. Initially, when we talked about this some time ago, as the school was mentioned, this has been a lengthy process. We looked at other zoning alternatives from a PUD standpoint, but we didn't want to come in with a list of variances based on its sizes and things like that. So I don't have an answer. I do want you to know that we're excited about the project as we interact with the city and economic development teams. For the county, we see the potential for office space that's kind of fun and cool and reflective of the evolutionary process that the office world's going through right now. We've had a couple of RFPs for businesses that you would recognize here in town that want to come down and be closer to downtown, and it would be a boon for the community because those businesses are currently in the township or they're currently outside of city limits, and you know, the economics associated with that are phenomenal, as well as having more you know, bodies for restaurants and bars and activities downtown as well. So we're excited to dive into the due diligence and come up with a solution. I don't know what the answer is, but we're open to this dialogue and moving forward.
Go ahead, yeah. Go ahead.
Roughly how many residential units are you looking at right now?
Chris, this was our conversation right after this. So
Right.
Our contract is a percentage of square footage. And right now we think that's going to be between 8 to 12 units. But again, we're struggling with getting them on. We were going to allocate the entire upper floor of the building as residential, but we do have a concept plan that puts a brand new ADA product really at the corner of Lincoln and Corey and butts it up there and gives it kind of a townhome brownstone and not put residential units into the building, simply because we'd have to spend the units we would lose and the money to bring that up to ADA requirements for the building to have a mix of uses would be just shy of $1 million to do that. So if we want to bring more units, it actually makes more sense to discuss putting new construction units in the parking lot area. And that would be between 8 and 12 units.
8 and 12, you say?
Yeah, total.
New.
New.
And then how many in the existing building?
If I do that, I wouldn't do any in the existing building. That would be office space, retail, restaurants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you put residential into the building,
9 to 10.
9 to 10.
Yeah. So each floor is really, again, using the horseshoe analogy, each floor is roughly the same except for the area on the second floor, which was the garden, we call it the outdoor patio now. The walls, some of those walls are chases and plumes for the structure. So we're kind of limited. If a room is 600 square feet and it's got a chase going through it, it's going to stay 600 feet. If it's 400 feet and it's a temporary wall or a wooden wall, it's going to be an 800 square foot room. So it's just, that's how that building was built 100 and some odd years ago. So we can't just knock walls down without
Right.
damaging the integrity of the building.
Right.
Adding an elevator on that east elevation, we have to have a ADA compliant lobby on the ground floor and subsequent floors up, and we would lose at least one unit per floor and 2 on the upper floor, just given. So we'd lose 4 units.
then these residential units, are you anticipating 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or?
Most are 1 bedroom. Yeah.
Okay.
Most are 1 bedroom.
Anything else for this group?
If you're talking about maintaining all the hard surface currently, or rough, you know?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, and if you build on the east side, you just take up some of that hard surface.
Correct. If we have on the gymnasium portion, we've looked at restaurant opportunities, and then for the co-working, that would be an opportunity for, if you're not familiar with the co-working model, it'd be an opportunity for people to have smaller offices or meeting spaces and things like that, and we would do that in the gymnasium as well. So that whole western portion would get redone, reconfigured. Maybe there'd be some patios out there. To the comment back on setbacks, you know, on that upper northwest corner, there's a trash dumpster there. If you can use Google Earth, it shows trash in it, and it's been there for a long time. That's really the best spot for trash on that whole property for a number of reasons. One is because the way trash trucks come into the area, you can see the concrete apron that goes in at an angle there. That should be screened and that should be isolated from the neighbors both to the north and to the west. But we really just don't have an option to put it anywhere else, because if you put it, let's say, to the right or the northeast corner, you're just not going to get a truck traffic to do that. And you obviously don't want it coming through the parking lot and having curb cuts back onto Lincoln. So, those are the types of challenges that we're trying to deal with. And again, don't have a solution for all, but you can see that area to the west was used for parking right there, as well as a small little kickball field, it looks like. But, that we envision that to be patio space, outdoor space, some parking, and then one or both of those parks, those playground areas would be conveyed as parks. Then we would put patio space where the word Google is. We look at patio space there as well, outdoor meeting space and things like that.
Are you saying this would be patio space for the?
It would. It's going to be an event space. Yeah. On the second floor, we can increase the size of the windows on the second floor and create a. We actually have that program for a bar, kitchen, rooftop type of amenity.
And you're looking at maintaining the fenestration of the major portion of the building?
Absolutely. It's in phenomenal shape, with the exception of the air intakes on that second floor and some really high spots on this would be the north elevation on that patio area, but it's in phenomenal shape. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this? Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Good morning. If you come up and introduce yourself to the mic, please.
Good morning. I'm Doug Schmidt. I live directly across from the school. I have a question more than, it appears like this is a good thing. It could be a lot worse. It's always scary, change. Let's say this development does not go as planned and it's been changed in its zoning. Do we have any recourse after that?
No, once the zoning's changed, it's changed.
Okay. So
that is one thing that is always heavy on my, whenever there's a rezoning, the first thing staff thinks of, okay, we have this plan, what if this plan does not occur? That type of situation. The good news is in 95% of all the scenarios, the City Planning Commission gets to review. If they make any significant changes to the site, they will have to submit a site plan, which will be subject to the City Planning Commission. Actually, I said 95. I don't see any scenario where it's not 100%. There's going to be changes to parking. There's going to be, and just the changes to parking would necessitate a site plan. So the good news is the City Planning Commission gets another opportunity to review this, which is open to the public. And once more is known, then we get to really comment and look at specific items and details. And trust that the City Planning Commission is trying to balance the needs of both property owners and watching out for the concerns of the neighborhood.
Okay. And the question about a possible ADA multi-unit on Corey Street, he was talking, possibly. Is that the full stretch of Corey Street? What are we looking at there?
So I will say, I can't answer for there's no plans in front of us. We always, when we have a rezoning, we always kind of just look at the worst case scenario. One thing the city can't do in a rezoning is put conditions on it.
Okay.
So I wish we could, but the Ohio Supreme Court says you can't. to what extent, I don't know what they're looking at, but we'll have to review anything that comes, that they submit. So I wish we could put conditions, but we can't say, okay, developer, we will rezone it to C3 on the condition that you provide 15 residential spaces and that you provide 90 parking spots or 10 parking spots. We can't put any of those on that.
All right. Anything else, sir?
With that zoning, there isn't anything on parking, correct?
Right, there's no parking requirement.
All right.
But from a staff viewpoint, you know, I think parking will be probably one of the top points of discussion, and you know, the developer will really have to show that they have a good way to handle the parking, you know, in my opinion. You know, if a plan comes in with 15 parking spots and office and retail and, you know, all these things, I mean, but there needs to be a reasonable amount of parking.
The residents that move in will want parking, right? So if this developer is going to have an empty apartment, if he doesn't have some parking, probably, right? So the market will dictate that.
And obviously for the retail use and stuff, if they don't make it accessible for people to get there easily, it won't function right. I got a question for, was it Tim? Yeah. If you build apartment units over here, will they be attached to the school building, or will they be a standalone?
Likely standalone. I think again, we wrestle with historic preservation versus current building code and compliance and things like that. So if we end up with units there, I think the tendency would be they would be detached completely and almost feel like a separate project.
What do you think the likelihood of that is versus being within the building structure?
I got up really early to be here. I don't know. I'm going to answer that question, then I'm going to make a suggestion. The challenge for someone in my world is, you know, there are tools available at the state level, historic preservation, tax credits, and such. You really don't have a whole lot of say in what happens in your building if you decide to go down that path. You know, you're going to get tax credits, therefore the state gets to keep the building in its entirety. Those run afoul and conflict with ADA compliance. They really do, and that is a big hurdle for us. Would be really, really cool. We've done some focus groups. We brought some people through. We brought some property management companies through. This committee may remember them, also the owner of the Argyle properties. So we are very in tune with your multifamily needs as a community. It'd be really, really cool to do that. It's a challenge. It's a cost prohibitive, restrictive challenge. And it's not all about, you know, how much money you can make. It's about, you know, what would an appendage of an elevator look like sticking out there, and then its yield. And again, you know, kudos to your school board. They have their agenda is they want the building to stay, and they want the building to be repurposed, and they want a proportion of it to be residential. So from a leadership standpoint, you can't fault your school board. So the challenge kind of gets dumped on my lap, say, all right, figure it out. And unfortunately, the age of the building and you know, we have state code, city code, we have all those things out there. It's going to be a challenge to get residential in the building. And we're committed to try to figure that out because, again, it would be really, really cool to be candid. It would be cool. I've heard a couple different things. You know, setbacks. I threw out the garbage idea, no pun intended. I threw out the garbage idea because that bothers me as a property owner developer, that isn't screened and it isn't buffered and it isn't, you know, that family to the north, that they see it. And now it's not in use. I don't even think the dumpster's there anymore. But we do need that level of detail. I think we need to address those things. I chuckled when I heard the comment on parking amongst all of us here, because when I bought the Argyle, and we're looking at other properties up and down Main Street. On Main Street, it seems to be expected that a retailer would have a customer find a parking spot and get in there and get out. But the minute we're 297 feet off of Main Street, we've got to give the illusion of ample parking, and that's a perception that customers have and consumers have. Very in tune with that, and I think we need to have a discussion with the administration and the school board will be part of that. On, for example, one of the ideas our team came up with is you could flip the parking on Lincoln Street to head in or to angle, and almost double the amount of parking spots there. So if we got further into the weeds with the community and the community said parking is just a challenge, we would look, that would be one of our recommendations. And I understand I'm not looking for head nods or head shaking on that, but I'm just saying that's the level of detail we're thinking through. I'm going to suggest that our team buckle down and look at these things and maybe prioritize them. And I would like to not put you in a position to vote on this today with as many questions as you have. I understand the community is supportive of adaptive reuse and keeping the building. I certainly agree. The building fits in that neighborhood, but we got to come back with the right product. And unfortunately, Matt's 100% correct. You can't rezone something with conditions on it, but you can't approve a final development plan with conditions. So I think I'd like to push our team to pull some of these ideas down and hone them in, and maybe revisit with Matt over the next week to 10 days if we, in fact, C3 is the right zoning, number one. And number two, address some of the questions I've heard today. I'd like anyone else in the audience to be able to speak and address concerns. But I don't think it's the right thing to do to ask you to vote on a matter today with so many questions. I think genuinely we have good intentions, and we want to do the right thing that's good for the community and good for our company. But I don't want to underperform either with what the school board wants out of the property and what the community wants out of the property. So.
Well, I appreciate everything that's going into this so far to try to retain this facility and all. Just initially, looking at this, I think if you put a detached residential unit on there and you have the building filled with commercial, I think the parking would be very restricted.
It's parking's a challenge. Yeah.
And obviously you need to make it accessible to people to entice them to be there too.
Right,
so.
right. And I will say, being on the record, I'm floored by the headlines you read in the paper across the nation with the economy, parts of the economy, the office world. I'm an office developer. I am shocked at the amount of interest we've had from local businesses who have said, I'd love to be downtown. But you got to solve the parking problem. I'd love to be downtown. We'd love to have amenities and cool space for our employees. We have 100 employees and only 50 of them are coming back. We still have a year or two left on our building in the township or somewhere else nearby. And it would be cool. I mean, we could bring in, from a city's perspective, we could bring in millions of dollars in payroll, and dozens and dozens of more customers for every restaurant up and down Main Street. Again, it's 300 feet to Main Street. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can't walk 300 feet, 100 yards to go get a glass of wine or a sandwich, then shame on you. So, and who knows? Maybe at some point we'll have the scooters on demand and things like that other communities have. But it has been a lot of effort. It's been fun. It's a beautiful building. You can feel the history. Almost you hear the chatter of children as you're walking through. You can imagine what they, the amount of people that have come and gone through there. The gymnasium, again, we had plans to convert that or knock that down until you see some of the history behind the stage and plaques and even some photos and things like that. So we've been purposeful to try to keep everything. But we understand it's a lot of moving parts. But our goal would be to have restaurant type, retail type, office type, and residential on the site. And unfortunately, that's a challenge. That's hard.
Yeah,
We're not skirting the responsibility. It's tough to make all those things work.
Sure. So if I'm reading you right, you'd like us to table this?
I would, but I would
Okay.
like to see if there's any other comments from the community.
Sure.
That we don't miss something that, we're looking at this, I look at this image, all week long, and then I get up to town. I'm in Columbus, in Dublin, and I get up here maybe once a week. So I'd love to hear any other comments, but then my ultimate goal would be to table this to your next meeting.
Okay. Any other public?
I think everyone else has had the opportunity. Nope, I'm sorry, sir. Please come, yeah.
My name's Bob Gatliff, and I'm going to follow in the footsteps of the other gentleman that spoke in favor of his granddaughter, because I'm a grandfather. And the playground is my interest, and because there's a lot of kids that use it. And to see that thing wiped off, and I don't know where the next closest playground is. There's actually two, one on each side, yeah. And I'm not insisting that both stay.
Okay.
But I think there ought to be a place for small children to keep.
Nope.
That's all I want.
I appreciate that comment, and I appreciate you, both of you, coming and expressing your comments. I will tell you that the developer reached out, and not to get into the details of it, but he said, when I am on site, I see moms and parents with kids. I see kids using those playgrounds, and their commitment, as he's talked about, to invest in this community and keep that what it is they want to maintain that, and they want the city, or however that works, to us to maintain, upgrade, and keep the integrity of the playgrounds for the kids. So that's definitely part of the conversation as we work through this. But again, that emphasizes that we're on the right path, I think, to maintain that. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Dennis Doolittle again. Understand the concerns of the developer, understand the concerns of the panel. We are here to discuss, to look for the rezoning to seek commercial. As the owner representative, we would like to considering keeping that vote. I think the conversations that we're having are after the fact of this change and can be discussed if the residential is requested or if other changes are made to the property. That's how I understood the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, generally the rezoning is considering the rezoning. There's no requirement to share any details. So, I'm a little surprised they're not on the same page with this. So this is the first for me, so I'm not sure what.
I guess it seems like we get in these situations when we consider these because, well, you want to know what's going in there, but you're not obligated to know what's going in there, and it's a progression of process. So
we as a board and school administration has worked very hard to get to this point. We want to make sure that we are moving forward with this process, and if we could get a vote today, we would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, if we tabled it, how long would that be? I guess, I don't know, back to the developer, I mean, are we out a month, or were you saying it's going to be several months, Tim?
No, it could be brought off the table in September.
So that would essentially be 4 weeks for people to gather information and come back, or we approve it. But there will be further discussion regardless.
just wondering, in 4 weeks, would we have enough information, from the developer to?
I think they're motivated to move and give us the information to make a good decision.
Tim, you mentioned tabling this so you could review whether the C3 is the appropriate zoning that you would like. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, that was part of the thought matrix. I think if we take a minute now to discuss that, I think the school board brings up a legitimate point that it is in their best interest to get the zoning application across the finish line in a timely manner. And I think, if the vote is conducted today and approved, I think the C3, it does give us some guardrails to work within and see exactly what we're dealing with. Right now, we don't have a zoning other than its current institutional zoning. So C3 having those guidelines would allow us to know the rule book, if that makes sense. That would be helpful from us. I think what that then does, to speak candidly and open, is with those rules, we now know the guidelines for what could be compatible and what wouldn't. And I think that just becomes a discussion between the school board and I on are we meeting the right goals given that C3 zoning. So I think that's probably the right idea. I think, I've not had a conversation with the administration about parking, but that's one we need to get on the books pretty quickly. And talk through. I think if the C3 zoning's approved, again, that's probably more helpful than I initially had stated.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your willingness to be candid and walk through this. And as I hear Mr. Doolittle and you, and I'm processing this, we have process in place. We have meeting structure to go through this. I trust our team and their due diligence that they've done to make the recommendations based on what you're presenting. So I appreciate the willingness to table, but I'm confident that we're in a good position that we can move forward with this rezoning. So I would like to put a motion on the table to recommend this approval.
Okay.
I'll second.
Anything else?
And I agree. I think any reasonable redevelopment of this site will require C3. So with that said, if it, so with what Rob has said, it meets the land use plan. The redevelopment of this site really needs C3 zoning. That's the goal of the school district. We will have other opportunities to review the site as details come in, which will all be open to the public. So I do feel comfortable moving forward with the rezoning.
I think we had a lot of good discussion today about parking and playgrounds and setbacks, and so I think when you guys develop your site plan, I think you kind of understand what we're looking for. So
I appreciate the school board and their attention to this. I appreciate the engagement of the neighbors in their community. I really do, sincerely. I appreciate the developer and economic development for your investment and interest in our community. I mean, everyone's here for all the right reasons, so let's create a balance and synergy that everyone can enjoy for a long time. So I'm excited about this, but we have some work to do. But I think the motion on the table is to move in the right direction. So Jacob, whenever you're ready, we do have a motion in a second. Sorry.
Yep. All right. Mr. Klinger?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jeremy?
Aye.
And Ms. Schroeder?
Aye.
Okay, with that, I don't think there's anything else. Oh, sorry.
This will be same room, same venue at noon. It'll be the Planning and Zoning Committee of City Council. we do request that the applicants be in attendance for that also.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, with that, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a little nervous, but I think it's gonna happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A little nervous, but I do think that it's free for that section to do anything.
Why are you looking at
Great, thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks. I've got a new